That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Crack. Where the mummy had been was a woman with floor-length black hair and a skeletal, green-tinged face. A banshee. She opened her mouth wide, and an unearthly sound filled the room. A long, wailing shriek which made the hair on Harry's head stand on end. "Ridiculous!" shouted Seamus. The banshee made a rasping noise and clutched her throat. Her voice was gone. Crack! The banshee turned into a rat, which chased its tail in a circle. Then, crack! Became a rattlesnake, which slithered and writhed. Before, crack! Becoming a single bloody eyeball. "It's confused!" shouted Lupin. "We're getting there! Dean!" Dean hurried forward. Crack! The eyeball became a severed hand, which flipped over and began to creep along the floor like a crab. "Ridiculous!" yelled Dean. There was a snap, and the hand was trapped in a mousetrap. "Excellent! Ron, you next!" Ron leapt forward. Crack! Quite a few people screamed. A giant spider 6 feet tall and covered in hair was advancing on Ron, clicking its pincers menacingly. For a moment, Harry thought Ron had frozen. Then, "Ridiculous!" bellowed Ron, and the spider's legs vanished. It rolled over and over. Lavender Brown squealed and ran out of its way, and it came to a halt at Harry's feet. He raised his wand, ready, but... "Here!" shouted Professor Lupin suddenly, hurrying forward. Crack! The legless spider had vanished. For a second, everyone looked wildly around to see where it was. Then they saw a silvery white orb hanging in the air in front of Lupin, who said, "Ridiculous," almost lazily. What's up, potheads? Welcome to the restricted section, in which a bunch of nerds with potty mouths reread the Harry Potter series for the umpteenth time and discuss how the story and its themes have stayed with a generation into adulthood. Thank you for listening. If you haven't done the reading, don't worry, we did it for you. Here's what we're talking about today. Chapter 7, The Boggart in the Wardrobe. After Harry, Ron, and Hermione's first day of school, the other two notable classes in their first week back are Double Potions with the Slytherins and Defense Against the Dark Arts. Their first potions class of term is terrible. Malfoy comes back from the hospital wing with his arm in a sling, and he's being very dramatic about it. And Harry and Ron have to do all his work for him, and he's like pestering them the whole time. Neville fucks up his potion, and Professor Snape is like, "Well, you better fix it because we're gonna fucking feed it to your toad." Which is rude, because even if Neville did his potion right, I still wouldn't want to use a shrinking solution on my pet. Anyway, Hermione gives him all the tips. He does the potion right. Trevor's fine, and Snape takes 5 points from Gryffindor for Hermione helping him out. And then after that, they go to Defense Against the Dark Arts, and it's fun. Their new teacher, Professor Lupin, takes them to deal with a Boggart in the wardrobe in the staff room.
Would you like to start it?
I'm starting it. No, I always gotta muster my strength. Okay. Welcome to the restricted section. I'm your new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Professor Christina. I could never permit anyone to call me by my last name. This is the restricted section. Hey, gang.
Hey.
Howdy.
Grace, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Professor Christina. Thank you. I didn't like it. I take it back. I didn't like it.
I'm like a cool teacher. My students call me by my first name.
Yeah. Actually, they don't even say professor. They just call you Christina. Can I call you Christina from now on, please? Thank you.
You can call me Miss Tina.
I feel like that's what Harry would be like. He walks in to teach the first class and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm Professor Potter, but you guys can call me Harry." And everyone's like, "It's the boy who lived."
We know who you are.
He's like, "I'm Harry, just Harry."
And then he turns the chair backwards and sits in it.
Oh yeah.
With backwards and faces everyone and is like, "Put your books away. We're not going to talk about that today. Let's get to know each other."
He's gonna Robin Williams it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mary Clay, how you doing today?
I'm struggling. Thanks for asking. I feel like... So I truthfully can't remember the last time I was on an episode, but it feels like it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
Just so much has happened. A lot has happened in the world, and then also to me personally. I feel like I've aged a million years.
Well,
But
you
I'm
look great.
that makes me sound so like upset to be here.
We're all tired.
I am actually very excited to be here to talk about Harry Potter, to talk about this great chapter. So I am looking forward to this conversation despite my very tired demeanor.
Can you guys hear my cat throwing a total temper tantrum?
Just a little bit. In the middle of Mary Clay's temper tantrum, I was also hearing your cat's temper tantrum.
A hissy fit, if you will. That's not a cat word, but it... Oh, yeah, because they hiss. It is a cat word. I was like, pussy, I'm getting confused.
A pussy fit?
Pussy cat.
Pussy foot.
Pussy.
Yeah, a hissy fit and stop pussyfooting around are the phrases. Yes.
Thank you.
That reminds, like, one time we were decorating the float in high school for like our homecoming parade, and we finished it, and my friend looks at me and goes, "Guys, I think we've got the cat in the bag." And we were like, "What?" And we were like, "The cat, it's in the bag." And we're like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "We're gonna win." And we're like, "Oh, you mean we've got it in the bag?" And she's like, "No, there's a saying about a cat in a bag." We're like, "No, that's you let the cat out of the bag is when you spill a secret."
I love mixed metaphors. I love we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. That's my favorite. It's so good.
That's also my favorite.
And I'm really excited that our buddy Jason Hilton is joining us for a third chapter
Woo-hoo.
in just as many books.
Thank you for having me
Woo,
back.
air horn.
How are you doing?
Feeling is a relative word, but
Should I stop asking people that? Is that a rude
Maybe,
question? Should
yeah.
I come up with like a more fun
Maybe
question?
wait until we've like all been vaccinated to ask that question.
I thought you were going to say wait until the end of the episode when everyone's all cheerful from friendship and discourse. I'll try again then.
yeah.
Just stop asking us how we're
It's
feeling.
pretty sad though if someone said they weren't doing okay at that point.
Like we,
Well, I guess it depends what we're reading.
That's true.
One day we're going to have to cover a chapter that ends
No.
with...
Oh,
Hi, Dante.
Hi Dante. He can't hear us. Put the headphones on him so he can listen.
put the headphones on him.
He's like in a crevasse trying to like make his way
Dante!
to God's thumb. Give up. Give up. He gave
I
up.
really wish I wasn't allergic to cats. I would like cats.
I'm so sorry. All right, well, before we get started today, just a little bit of business. I want to start with a shout out to one of our patrons. You can get a show shout out by signing up for our Patreon. I know that we've mentioned our friend Charlie before on this podcast, but I don't think I've given them an official patron shout out. So Charlie, here it is. Your official patron shout out. Thank you so much for being a patron. We love you.
We love you,
Yes,
Charlie.
Charlie is awesome.
Whoa.
Snaps for
Can
Charlie.
confirm.
I hope that's how you pronounce Charlie. I'm really embarrassed because last week I pronounced another friend's name wrong.
It's Charlie.
No!
Charlie bit me. And it's still hurting.
Have you ever seen the parody of that video by the Hemsworth brothers?
No.
Yes.
It's really funny. I'll put it in the show notes. It's like a dramatic reenactment, and it is like a 5-minute video. It's like a 2-minute video, and it's a star-studded cast.
Oh.
I will send that along.
I'm gonna have to end this. I can no longer do this episode. I have to go do something right now. Okay, bye. I have to go watch this.
Yeah, so anyway, last week I pronounced our friend's name wrong, and I'm so sorry, Mott's. Okay, I learned it now.
You know what? I almost warned you. Yeah.
No, don't worry. Like, it's been, my error has been reported to me by several people.
No, I almost texted you beforehand and said like, "Oh, hey, if you ever mention Mott's on the podcast." Because he spells his name Mats, and for like several months on several of the WB&E shows, we all just called him Mats. This was several months, and then
this is like a
finally he messaged or mentioned it in Discord somewhere that his name is pronounced Mats, and we were all like,
Americans are God.
We're like, why didn't you say something earlier? Because he's just too nice.
Aw.
So sorry about that, bud.
I called Haley Catherine for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you really?
How'd you get away with that?
Yeah.
That's her official first name.
Oh.
It's her official first name. When she started her internship, that was
That's
her
her
name.
name. That's just your name.
And so she didn't say anything for a while.
It took me until just now to figure out who you were talking about. It's fine. We were talking before we were recording about how I just found out that Sir Ian McKellen is gay in the year 2021.
So fun.
So I'm, you know what? I'm behind on the times on a lot of things. I'm slow.
You're catching up.
I'm so excited. Anyway, I'm so excited to be here talking about Sorcerer's Stone Chapter 8.
Just to wrap up this conversation, I just want to remind everyone that for a decade, we all were pronouncing it Hermione because we just couldn't really get it down. And names is hard. And we're all just doing our best. And we love you, Moss.
And the end.
All right, let's get to it. This is Chapter 7, The Boggart in the Wardrobe. Classic.
snap.
I love it so much. This is just like such a vibe.
Yeah.
And the chapter starts out a little tough, but it gets like pretty good by the end. Harry's being a little dramatic, but like it's a fun one.
Harry's being a little dramatic. Well, he's not the only one being a little dramatic.
Okay, well, so it starts with Malfoy.
It's actually the first word in the chapter.
God.
Malfoy! Why are you so obsessed with me? So Malfoy comes back to class. He's been wounded. So he's been in the hospital wing all week, and he comes back to class late Thursday morning when the Slytherins and the Gryffindors are halfway through double potions. Okay, did he strategically plan this exit from the hospital wing to be like as dramatic as
Oh,
possible?
yeah. You know he did.
He
He's like,
walked
"I'm gonna
around the
walk
halls
in."
for a while until classes had already started. Yeah.
Wow. Malfoy's milking the injury, and he's being dramatic about it. And he's like waking up Pansy Parkinson. He's like getting Snape to make Harry and Ron do all his like stuff for him, like his potion stuff, potions making.
Yeah, and like Ron had cut up his little whatever he was cutting was
Daisy roots, so
Daisy roots.
cute.
He was doing them so perfectly, and then Snape made him swap with Malfoy after freaking like Ron didn't do a good job on Malfoy's. But why would he ever have done a good job on Malfoy's?
The injustice is terrible.
The bloody favoritism.
Well, and I just, like, love imagining Ron doing something, like, delicately and
Me too.
meticulously. He, like, really, that's not his vibe. And he probably was like, I'm gonna really get it right this time.
Yeah, and then, you know, that's what he gets. And he's
Yeah.
completely discouraged and he never tries again.
Yeah, he basically never tries again.
That's when he gave up on potions. He's like, I tried once. I tried that one time in our third year, and that was it. That was it for me.
Teaching moment, Snape.
Ron, I think out of all the three of them would be best at maybe like cooking. Because like, I don't know, cutting an onion into like uniform pieces is pretty hard. So I don't know. Maybe, I mean, out of all of them, he would be the one. I mean, this is not to make fun of Rupert Grint of how he looked when he got older, but he looks like the guy who would enjoy eating the most.
Man, one of the most important things I ever learned to do is cut an onion, right?
I still haven't learned how to do it.
Yeah, I have never.
Don't
Yeah,
learn.
I've never cut an onion in my life because I will just always buy frozen bags of chopped onion for the rest of my
Ew.
life. Thank
Wait,
you.
I didn't
and
even know you
goodbye.
could do that.
Neither did I.
Yeah, they have that. Yeah, they
Shortcut.
sell because. Well, the other thing is that as a single person, I cook for one a lot, and
She's one single person.
if I buy an onion, like a lot of times the recipe doesn't necessarily call for a whole, maybe it does. I don't know. Point being is that like, it's very rare that like, if I were to cut a whole onion that I would use the whole thing in a recipe and that I'm just using a little bit. So frozen vegetables are where it's at, folks.
Okay.
I think my thing is that no matter how much onion it says, it's always like one full onion, or like maybe even if I'm being dramatic, 2 full onions. All the onions.
Yeah.
I just like onions.
That's when I go to Google and I'm like, how much is one large, because it'll be like, the recipe will say, 1 large onion chopped. And I'm like, okay, Google, what is 1 large onion chopped in cups?
It's probably 1 cup, right?
And then it'll say
1 to 1.5
cup. I'm like, great,
Get
perfect.
you a fatty onion.
Yeah. So I have a question that you might have addressed in the previous chapter when Malfoy gets his injury. In the movie, we have Hermione say, like, he has to be taken to the hospital wing immediately. So his scratch is actually dangerous. But is it actually dangerous in the book? Or is this just Malfoy being dramatic.
So definitely Malfoy got hurt because Harry sees the wound and he describes it as like a deep gash or something, and there's like blood dripping.
In the movie, his clothes just get ripped, and you don't really see anything.
And he like falls down and he's being like very dramatic.
Probably because it's a PG-13, and that would be a very, very, very gushy kind of wound, like deep lacerations from a hippogriff.
Yeah, but definitely Madame Pomfrey could fix it like immediately.
Yeah, so I think the answer to that is both.
Yeah, he's acting as if he like broke a bone or something.
Okay.
He can still cut his fucking roots, like either way.
Yeah,
I
fine
completely
enough
agree.
to do that for sure.
Yeah.
So Malfoy's basically just sitting there relaxing and taunting them the whole class. I imagine him with like his shoes up on the table, just like straight chilling. He asks about Hagrid. He implies that his dad, my father, will make sure Hagrid gets fired.
What has Draco ever had against Hagrid?
Oh, he's
poor.
racist.
It's just racist.
It's racism.
Classism, racism.
Yeah, okay, he does live in a hut.
Yeah.
He calls him an oaf, which like, okay, like I don't like the Malfoys. I'm not rooting for them, but they're not wrong.
He's not
That
wrong.
Hagrid maybe shouldn't be teaching.
Yeah. It's not incorrect, but
Give him a chance.
Yeah.
Come on. Like,
I think it's interesting here because we have two first-time teachers, and one of them really, really nails it, and the other one doesn't quite nail it as much.
poor Hagrid.
Yeah.
maybe not hippogriff on the first day.
Yeah, exactly.
But the problem is that it was Malfoy's fault, wasn't it? That he was,
He didn't listen to the instructions.
Yeah.
I think that as a teacher, it'd just be like, I'm assuming all my kids are dumb.
Yes,
right? Because
that's
like
the
at
thing.
least some of them are dumb. That's just math.
It breaks my heart in the movie when Hagrid's going like, "How am I doing my first day?" And he's so he's so happy.
And Harry goes, very good. He's like, great, brilliant.
He's so happy that things
Professor.
are going well for him for once, and then just everything gets fucked up. That part in the movie
Poor
always
Hagrid.
hurts me.
Okay, but that's not
What
what
am I
chapter I was
talking
about.
about?
I was about to like get into that chapter again, and I was like, wait, deja vu. Malfoy even like admits to faking the seriousness of his injury, partly to get Hagrid fired. That's very infuriating. The injustice here, it's like, I can't handle it.
And it gets worse.
Yeah. Next, Neville. He's not okay. He is really, really not okay.
I always enjoy reading these chapters because I know the movie's way more than the books, and the books leave out a lot of Snape being an asshole.
you mean
The
the
movies leave
movies?
out, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. There's a lot of small ways that he's an asshole every day. Be an asshole every day, it's like a practice.
And that's how you have all of these people who are like, Snape's just misunderstood and like, but he was good in the end. And it's like, no, that doesn't excuse. It might explain his actions, but it doesn't
an
excuse what he
explanation is not an excuse.
does.
Yeah, so speaking of Snape's actions, Neville is really struggling. He could probably use some guidance and some reassurance. And instead, Snape is like, you are a fuck up and you better get your shit together.
Or I'm going to kill your toad.
Or I'm going to kill your toad. He's like, we're going to feed this potion to your toad no matter what, so you better hope it doesn't kill it. Do you think Snape would have let Trevor die?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was his intention.
100%. That was his hope.
That's like right on the cusp. I think of like how much a teacher can be a dick to a kid without getting in trouble for it, even at Hogwarts. Like I think that's like the boundary, and Snape would have walked right up to it.
I think so too.
Just like a fun note, my friend Adrian named her Roomba Trevor.
Aw.
So she's like, Trevor's just cleaning while I'm chilling here with some wine on the couch.
That's a bit. I saw a TikTok today of a guy who walked into his apartment building, and there was just a Roomba in the hallway, and he was like,
cat got out.
It got out. Should I check its collar? Like, whose Roomba is this?
All my friends have Roombas, and it makes me jealous. Do you guys have Roombas?
I definitely
No.
don't. I want one though.
My mom got one for Christmas. This was an instance of like she actually asked for this as opposed to like my dad giving, stereotypical like man giving a woman like a blender or whatever. She wanted a Roomba, and a lot of our entertainment Christmas morning was watching the Roomba go around the house.
I get that.
It's very entertaining, and we were literally just like following it around from room to room. We're like, oh my god, she's in the dining room now.
It's like a puppy. You're like, oh, what's she
They
doing?
they named it Rosie, which I believe is the name of the robot maid in the Jetsons.
Oh yeah, that's cute.
So they
That's
named it
pretty
Rosie. And they're like, oh, Rosie's in the dining room now.
Wait, does she clean good?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Because it's really amazing. I mean, you have to empty it every time, but actually, Christina, it would probably be really good for you since you have cats, because it'll get up all that hair on like a more regular basis than you would probably like want to be vacuuming. So
this is super fun conversation. I vacuum literally at least once a week.
I hate vacuuming.
Twice, and it's just like so much cat hair.
Oh my god, I hate vacuuming. Okay, you know where vacuums and Roombas don't work? Hogwarts.
Clutch. That was a clutch transition.
Thank you.
Seamus is like gossiping. He's like, did you guys hear? I can't even tell you're fighting right now because I can't read the room. Did you guys hear that Sirius Black has been spotted near here? And like everyone else who's receiving this information is like a lot more alarmed than he like knows.
And like why is he excited?
Because he just thinks it's like cool juicy news, you know what I mean?
Okay, so he has no context really, I
guess. Seamus is like, he's not coming for me, I'm just Seamus fucking Finnegan. Like, this is kind of cool.
He's just passing the information along to the person that he's after, but it's fine.
Yeah. So then Malfoy starts talking shit about Sirius Black. He aggressively implies that he knows some reason Harry might want to go after him. Malfoy's doing a lot of like heavily implying shit in this chapter.
This makes me really mad because I see how he knows what Harry doesn't know yet, because he would have had that information told to him from Lucius, who is a Death Eater, which like, by the way, like once you get down to it, Lucius or one of the Malfoys easily could have said like, oh, Sirius Black wasn't a Death Eater. He was never in with our group. Like he was never a Death Eater. You know, that could have solved it, but no, they're selfish bitches. So what does it matter? Anyway, the idea that Draco knows more about Sirius Black, who we, later learn is Harry's godfather. It's okay, I'll rein in my emotions.
He was their friend!
When I find him, I'm gonna kill him!
I can't wait to I'm already declaring that I will be on for the Prisoner of Azkaban movie episode.
Yeah, you did request that when we did the Chamber of Secrets movie episode.
The amount of times that my friends in high school and I would just randomly go, he was that friend!
We're getting my friend who works for Rotten Tomatoes on that one.
Very cool, very cool. Anyway, okay, point being is that it makes me furious that Draco knows more about the Sirius Black situation than Harry does.
That makes me mad too, and it actually reminds me of something we were talking about a couple episodes ago about Professor Trelawney and about how she doesn't know that she is like really psychic and has her prophecies. Like only Dumbledore or whoever knows about those, and like she doesn't get to know, and that's like such a tragedy. I do hate when people like don't get to know things about themselves. Which is kind of Harry's entire plotline. It's just slowly figuring things out.
Yeah.
All trying to figure out yourself while also doing potion classes.
I'm a what? Yeah, let's see. Yeah, each year there's a new revelation. Year 1, I'm a what? Year 2, he's a parcel mouth. Year 3, Sirius Black is his godfather. Year 4, he's, I don't know, Harry Potter. Year 5, he's the boy who... He's the chosen one, yeah.
I guess all of these books are like mysteries, I never really thought about it that way, but like they're all mysteries. That's kind of cool.
I think we talked a little bit about that in some Chamber of Secrets. I feel like I have memories of us talking about that during Chamber of Secrets, at least, that like it feels very much like a mystery.
We had to talk something about the first chapter.
Yeah, true. Man, I wrote down the quote, "Don't you know, Potter?" Because it's just like so fucking annoying. And then Snape interrupts them. And it's like cleanup time. Clean up, everybody, everywhere.
This is the point in the Great British Bake Off where everyone has put their cakes into the oven. Like during a technical challenge.
That's always so agonizing. And they're just like kneeling just sit there and like staring.
And watch
it,
fanning
themselves. And they're like, I always baked Alaska on the hottest day of summer.
And then they're like, oh my god, my oven hasn't been on this whole time.
I need Great British Bake Off back in my life.
I love that.
Us, the omnipotent viewer, is just looking at them going like, you idiots, of course.
Me who can't chop an onion is like
True.
How long do you prove cookie dough for?
I can't believe you proved that for 3 hours. It was only supposed to be 1 hour. You put too much air in it, and now it's never going to be dense enough to hold up that lemon drizzle.
You put too much air in this. I told you.
The worst thing is when Paul Hollywood says, "It's a
raw.
shame, really."
There's no depth of flavor. It's always Australian. I
The
can't.
most annoying thing ever is when they're like, 5 more minutes and it would have been fine. And it's like, well, then stop giving them like 30 minutes to make 6 loaves of bread.
I have no idea how they do anything in the time that they give them. It's insane.
The only one I understand is when they do cookies, and I'm like, I could do a cookie.
Yeah,
a dope
that's
cookie
fine.
in an hour if I had
The funniest is when they're going around and talking to the contestants beforehand, and they're saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I've practiced it at home and it came out really well. And they're like, oh, have you done it in the time? And they're like,
No.
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, but this is not Great British
so-
Bake Off. This is Great British
close.
Potions Show.
So Snape does test Neville's potion on Trevor, and it only works because Hermione's been like whispering instructions to Neville for how to fix it. Which, go Hermione, that's like a good skill.
Yeah.
To be able
Yeah,
to
to
like
turn
this is
the
what you
potion
fucked up.
around.
Yeah. This is how we're gonna fix it.
That requires a deeper level
advanced.
of understanding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So really, there should be 5 points to Gryffindor, but Snape is abusive, and even though the potion works, he still takes 5 points from Gryffindor.
So, technically, this is not a shrinking potion. This is a de-aging potion.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Because
because he
it
becomes
turns
a
the
tadpole.
toad into a tadpole. If it was a shrinking solution, it would turn the toad into a smaller
Into a
toad.
little toad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is way
Wow.
cuter. Just a little tiny toad.
Nice. This was what I was talking about earlier because, like, you guys like to shit on Drew for defending Snape too much, but because I haven't read the books and I've read the movies, I've watched the movies. Snape is like less of an asshole in the movies, therefore he's a little more sympathetic. But going into the books, I'm definitely seeing where you guys are coming from because he's sadistic for literally no reason. And Neville's not even Harry Potter. Like, I get that he hates Harry, but why pick on Neville?
I know.
Yeah. Really, to me, movie Snape is like a Mr. Darcy situation, like antisocial and like very awkward when you talk to him, like never says the right thing. But like book Snape, yeah, is a really bad
Do you think
guy.
they invite Snape to like Wizard Happy Hour or
No.
no? I mean, yeah.
So do we think the faculty okay, all right, let's talk about this. So do we think the faculty have like they have their group chats and then there's one group chat without Snape where they all just make fun of Snape or just talk about what an asshole he is, and then they're like, ha ha ha, fuck that. All right, let's all go to the what's it called? Not the Green Dragon. That's the wrong franchise. The thing. What is it? In Hogsmeade.
Hogshead.
The Green Dragon.
Yeah, there's Hogshead, but
The
there's
Three Broomsticks.
The
It's
Three
the Three
Broomsticks. That's it.
Broomsticks.
Yeah, that's it. Okay,
Hogshead's
thank
the
you.
backup one.
Thank you.
Wait, what was I gonna say?
I don't even remember. Gee, we can just ignore whatever I just said.
Wait, no, I was going to say. Okay, no, I think that there is a group chat. I also think there's probably a Dumbledore McGonagall Snape group chat, and then like McGonagall does like a lot of side texting Dumbledore.
Right.
Just, like, I don't want Severus.
I can imagine little
To be part
little
of
birds of paper just like kind of fluttering over to Dumbledore, and then you open them. There's a little note saying like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, don't they do that at the Ministry of Magic? There's like paper.
Yeah, memos.
Oh, maybe that's why. Planes. That's what I was thinking. I'm not birds.
That would have been
Yeah.
so cute in Hogwarts, just for like the aesthetic, you know.
Yeah, I used
Yeah.
to make paper planes all the time.
Draco does that in this movie. Actually, no, it's actually in a later scene, but he does that. He sends the note to Harry, and he like
I was gonna say I remember because his arm's definitely in a sling in that. Oh my god, and it's like flirting.
But like
Yeah.
for whatever reason, Draco is I don't know super skilled in charms for this like doodle of a quaffle hitting Harry in the head. Like
See, that's the thing is they spend time to make those little things happen, but you can't spend 1 fucking second on Ginny's character development. I'm angry.
honestly,
The injustice.
The injustice. So they all leave potions and they walk up to the Great Hall. For a moment, they can't find Hermione.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where did she go?
Where'd she go? Haley mentioned in a recent episode that she wants to be very alert for times when Hermione has been skipping out, and this is like a really obvious one. This is one that's so obvious that Ron and Harry
Do we need like a sound effect for Haley? Like, Haley, pay attention! This
Haley,
is
text
it!
Christina right now.
Haley passed her last test when we asked her to text us.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, they like look back and so I think that she like ran up the stairs with them, and then like when they turn around, she's like at the bottom of the stairs again.
Yeah, it just makes no sense.
It's like a glitch in the Matrix.
It's like, weird.
And they noticed, so it was a bad one because they're stupid.
That's what I was thinking about, is that Hermione depended entirely on her two best friends just being stupid and too stupid to catch on to what was happening.
Yeah, I think if her two best friends were Lavender and Parvati, they would have been more perceptive.
Yeah, because she has all these books, and they're like, Hermione, we don't even have any of these classes today. Like, why do you have these books? And she's like, oh, well, Oh, hey, what's that over there?
She really fumbles this whole scene. I feel like she really stayed up late, or like maybe used the time turner last night to study or something. I don't know.
She's exhausted. She says she says she's excited for lunch because she's starving. Like, are you okay, girl?
Yeah, the morning's taken forever.
Yeah, because to her, it's like 3 p.m.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's like muttering some kind of response, and her bag opens and it says she's carrying at least a dozen textbooks. Can that possibly be right? Because they would use those stupid messenger bags. It's not even like a proper backpack.
She needs to Leviosa that shit and like...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She does not need to be carrying all that.
Get a rolling backpack.
Oh my god, that's like such trauma for me, Mary Clay.
Neville would 100% have a rolling backpack, right?
You can't be trusted with a strap. Come on.
When I was in elementary school, I was quite a small child, and I was in the car circle, and the person, like, whoever was in charge of the car circle, she opened the door, and I literally fell out of the car because my backpack was so heavy, and I'm like on the ground like a turtle, like I fall and I can't get up. And so then after that, my mom got me a rolly backpack, and I was like so embarrassed because it was a result of like this situation where I fell out of the car. It is terrible.
In middle school, I was advised by a doctor that I should get a rolling backpack because of my scoliosis. And I ignored that and continued wearing a regular backpack.
Oh my god. I begged my mom for one of those rolling backpacks, but she said, no. I wanted one because they seemed easier.
Well, they were, but it was embarrassing.
Everyone in my school had them. It's so weird.
That's what I don't get, is like a rolling backpack 100% sounds like makes your life so much easier. That sounds amazing. But it's just the cultural context of rolling backpacks that makes it unbearable.
Like, you're like in a hall with a bunch of kids and people be like kicking your backpack.
It's basically a suitcase, so it just looks it looks like you're at the airport. In hindsight, I'm glad my mom didn't do it, but that would have been that kid.
Just this 8-year-old walking through the hallway looking like a businessman on his way to Hong Kong for a meeting about the markets.
Meeting about taste.
Markets. It's just that, to me, the appeal of a backpack is that it goes on your back and you don't have to fucking worry about it.
Some of us have scoliosis, Christina.
Some of us have childhood scoliosis.
It's just like, why would you... Okay. Well, including like when I travel, I only ever take backpacks. And my purse is almost always a backpack because I will leave my purse places if it's not literally attached to me like a spider monkey.
Oh.
Anyway, Hermione's struggling with these books.
Definitely has a messenger bag, yeah. Wheelie backpacks are too high-tech for Hogwarts.
Maybe they just haven't learned any, because if I was her, I would use a charm to, like, shrink. They just learned a shrinking solution. Shrink your textbooks and fit them all in this bag, and then when you get to the class that you need them for, unshrink it, you know?
Then the creature textbook would just turn into a little puppy.
Oh!
Puppy creature textbook.
It would
you could put in like a hermit crab.
Yeah, all the other ones would just turn into trees, but...
Oh, it would because if we're going by the mechanics of this shrinking solution.
But it was also a potion, so would you like, how would it...
She keeps it in a vial and does a little drop.
Oh, you just have to like
pour it.
Yeah.
Suppository.
But I mean, surely there's also a charm that you can shrink because they do they have Engorgio, which we all know what those Hogwarts boys are using Engorgio for.
Gross.
Are you telling me that none of these boys in Hogwarts that they use Engorgio?
We definitely have made this joke before because I vividly remember looking up that clip from 10 Things I Hate About You where the guidance counselor is writing her erotic novel and she's talking about someone's like engorged member or whatever. She's like muttering to herself.
Reginald.
What's the nurse's name again?
Madame Pomfrey.
I'm sure she's had a lot of stories of dumb teenagers trying to do that.
Yeah.
I've had to shrink so many penises.
I probably would have tried it on my boobs when I was a kid. Oh, there's like an episode of Rick and Morty about that where there was like a gigantifying, right? And the poor teenage girl is like, let me put my titties in there. And then she accidentally turns herself into like a gigantic monster and she like runs away into the woods and stuff, etc. It happens. So Ron's like, do you get the feeling Hermione's not telling us something? And that's like the end of the section. And it's like, yes, I do like really get that feeling at this time.
Hermione is just really counting on, and she's accurate given how long this whole shtick goes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's just counting on them never like really
not
following up or catching on or connecting the dots.
It hasn't even like ever occurred to him that time travel is even possible right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot. I mean, the thing with Harry is he's like, okay, he learned that magic exists and he's a wizard, but like everything beyond that
still
is
a
like really
Muggle-born,
shocking
essentially.
to him. Like when he saw the ghost for the first time, shocker, right? And like horseless carriages, like shocker.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but the time travel thing has always bugged me because how do you regulate that in a wizarding world? Why is it?
You don't, and that's why J.K. Rowling destroyed them in Order of the Phoenix when they're in the Ministry. There's a sentence where like the shelves of time turners got destroyed, and she I think has gone on record and said that I did that because I didn't want to have to deal with the consequences of time travel anymore.
And there's that one Death Eater things that I wish had been in the movies who gets his head trapped in
the bell jar.
Time turner, the bell jar, and he gets a baby head, and then he's walking around man-body baby head. And I wish that had been in the movies. That movie was rated PG-13 already. Give us man-body baby head.
The time travel does, like, it leads to a lot of complications, especially for Hermione.
Right away.
Like, someone mentioned earlier that, like, oh, for her, technically it's 3:00 because she's experienced, this morning already. So she's hungry for lunch, even though it's noon or whatever. And you also, technically, by the end of this year, Hermione is older than everyone else because she's experienced at least, let's say they have 6 hours of classes every day. She's experiencing 12 hours. So
it's a long day. She's pulling a double at school.
But it's not like she ages double the amount because there's still like meals and like time in the common room and sleeping and stuff that she does at night that doesn't account for that. So like that's what I've said. It's that like it leads to a lot of complications that I'm sure will come up at like the end in the chapter where they're going back and fixing everything. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so, after lunch, because Hermione's like, oh, don't even worry about lunch. After lunch, they go to their first Defense Against the Dark Arts class. Man, the rest of the chapter is like a lesson at school, and like, damn, I was engaged.
Yes.
I love it. It's also a really short lesson. Class. They're in class for like 20 minutes, and then Lupin's like, okay, that was good, bye.
He's like, I'm gonna be the cool teacher, dude. I'm gonna show him something else. I'm gonna pack an hour's worth of learning into 20 minutes, and I'm gonna let him go early because they crushed it.
Also, because Harry kind of ruined the fun for everybody. But
yeah,
I don't think Harry did.
Okay, we'll get there.
Well, let's get there. There. So Lupin tells the class to put away their books and take out their wands for a practical class. They're gonna go do some shit, and they're like, oh no, the only time this has ever happened before is when Lockhart set those pixies on us.
I know I joked earlier about how Harry would waltz in as the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher and spin the chair around and be like, hey guys, call me Harry. But like Lupin is very much doing that, like, books, we don't need those. Put those away. Take out your wands. We're going to a different classroom, which like, I remember in school, it was just like so cool and fun when your teacher would be like, we're going to go outside and do something. Or like, oh, we're going to go to the chemistry lab down the hall for this lesson. And it's like, ooh, what's happening?
It was like that day in gym where they like bring out the giant. Did you guys like do that? Did you?
The parachute?
The parachute,
Exactly
yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The parachute, and ours also had like these little scooters that were like these single person like
Yeah, the
You mean
rolling
the
things?
death
Yeah.
traps that you would get
Oh my
your
God, I
fingers
love
stuck
those.
under?
it's amazing what they trusted us with back then.
They leave the classroom all together. They're walking in a gang. They run into Peeves in the hallway, and he's sticking gum into a keyhole. And then Peeves starts talking shit to Lupin and calls him Loony Lupin. Which, okay, so this is something that people call Luna Lovegood later, right? Like Loony Luna, and it's like, it's just because she's a little spacey. But I wonder if Lupin gets a little extra sensitive because it's like a moon reference.
Yeah, I mean, I took it
Oh.
as a moon reference.
Yeah, I did too.
But
yeah.
Peeves, like, couldn't know that.
Or at least like J.K. Rowling using this as an opportunity for like fun foreshadowing.
Like a pun.
Peeves, like, could know
He
that,
could know
actually.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he definitely could have been there.
I don't know. I feel like Peeves wouldn't keep that a secret though.
But maybe he would. Like, I don't know.
What, just for
Peeves
chaos
is
reasons?
Yeah.
Peeves is such
For
a...
sure.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna let a werewolf go crazy in the
Oh,
cold. Is he
yeah.
gonna kill
Okay.
me?
Okay.
He's not gonna
totally
bite
would.
me. Yeah, I like that Peeves just like... Or maybe Dumbledore had a talk with him and Peeves respects Dumbledore, you know?
Yeah.
Do we think Peeves respects Dumbledore?
No.
Who does? Who doesn't respect
yeah.
Dumbledore? So Lupin performs the spell Wadiwasi.
I have
I meant
questions.
to look this up. Yeah, hold on. I meant to
Okay,
look this up.
Christina, look that up. I have questions about this spell because it's so specific. So because he says to the other students, take note, this is a very useful spell. And he says Wadiwasi, and it forces the gum out of the keyhole and up Peeves' nostril. So what does this spell, what is this spell for?
Okay, so it literally says, harrypotter.fandom.com says, Wadiwasi is an incantation of a charm that could be used to propel a small wad of material at high velocity. So I can think of, like, other weird, just, like, childish reasons to use it.
Spitballs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
immediately thought of spitballs.
But it's interesting because the spell Wadiwasi comes from a Swedish word and a French word. And I think that there's probably not a lot of other, like, Swedish-inspired spells in this
Yeah, it's
series.
just all
so it's
Latin.
just, like, a fun detail.
Yeah.
But this spell makes the gum fly out of the keyhole and up Peeves' nose with, quote, with the force of a bullet.
Sounds
Do
terrible.
they know what a bullet is?
Yeah. Remember in the newspaper, it's like metal wands that Muggle used to kill each other.
That was like their very basic understanding of what a gun is. So, like, do they actually know what a
Harry
bullet
knows
is?
what a bullet is.
Oh, Harry is the narrator. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
give you that.
Harry
one.
knows what a bullet is. So obviously Peeves is like, ow, and it zooms away. And then Dean is like, cool, sir.
I love
and
that.
Lupin's like, thank you, Dean, and it's the most wholesome thing I've ever read in my life.
It's so cute.
Lupin's the best.
Cool, sir.
He connects with his students in such a way that like I don't think any of the other professors ever have.
Yeah.
He just, he, like, makes students give a shit. And I think, so that's the thing. That's the thing with the Boggart. Like, eventually he gets to book stuff. Like, for homework, they have to do book stuff. But the Boggart is his hook, right? That's
Yes.
like, for writers, it's like, you want your first line to really get him.
That's what Hagrid was trying to do with the hippogriff, but it did not
It
work.
just didn't work. Yeah.
This is it's a perfect reflection of that.
Actually, you know what? We do see two parallels of practical lessons that have like dangerous consequences, possibly. And we see that actually happen with what happens with Malfoy, where Hagrid should have accounted for students being stupid, and he didn't.
Yeah.
But what happens later in this lesson is we see Lupin jump in to prevent
Yeah, he
something from
Yeah.
happening that could go bad.
I also think that a Boggart, like, genuinely can't hurt you.
Yeah, I don't think it can
like,
either.
physically.
No, it seems like some form of almost like a ghost, but not really.
Yeah. So the class follows Lupin into the staff room, which we've been here before in Chamber of Secrets when Ron and Harry were like eavesdropping on the teachers in one of the stupidest scenes I've ever read with my own two eyeballs. Snape's there, lounging, just trying to lounge in the staff room. The one place.
He's like,
and he's like, I'm out, Neville sucks. Completely
so mean, unprompted.
The worst. Christina, can I request that you insert John Ralphio singing?
The worst! She's the worst person in the world. Huge, skank, terrible.
The worst.
That was pretty good.
I quote it all the time.
The worst! She's the worst in the world.
Yeah, I mean, he's really, really abusive. And it's just like, I feel like him and Lupin are like locking eyes and just like so many visions are flashing, like so many memories.
That's
just
the
like
thing that I love about the Harry Potter series is it doesn't like start with Harry, you know? Like there's so much backstory and you get these
really
little
like
pieces.
Present history.
Yeah, and I just think it's so cool.
Lupin is like, why are you still such a dick? And Snape is like, well, probably why are you still such a dick?
Why are you a werewolf, bro?
Yeah.
No, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Snape's feelings are always so complicated. He's like, I hate you because you're friends with these guys who are assholes to me, but I also know that you're like the only nice one out of all of them. But like, also, I hate you and you also have my job.
Just so
Give
much.
me my job. Yeah. So Snape's like, Neville sucks, and Lupin's like, well, I was going to ask him to help me, so...
Fuck you.
So then Snape leaves, and Lupin directs everyone's attention to the wardrobe and tells them that there's a Boggart in there. And it's like shaking and stuff. Who loves this scene in the movie?
Oh my God.
I really
It's
do.
so perfectly
The
done.
music is so
It's really fun.
So fun.
The swing music.
Yes.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the wizarding world is now set in like the 1920s with this jazzy swing music.
Yeah, it's very jazzy. Lupin does a little bit of light lecturing. He asks some questions, and Hermione answers a question, and Harry answers another question. We're talking about Boggarts. Boggarts turn into what people fear the most, and then you have to like turn it into something funny with the spell ridiculous, whatever.
Which I remember in, I think, the Jim Dale audiobook, it's pronounced ridiculous. And I hate it.
I hate that.
Don't like that.
This is also where we get the iconic line in the movie when he's like, all right, say it, ridiculous. And everyone's like, ridiculous. And then Draco goes, this class is ridiculous.
Well, I thought that was like the funniest fucking joke when I was 8 years old reading this for the first time. I was like, oh my God, it's like the word
wordplay.
That's really good. That's a good one. And I caught that because I'm 8.
You know what? It is a good joke.
It's a pretty good joke.
So are like Boggarts kind of like the wizarding explanation of, because it says things like Boggarts like dark enclosed spaces, wardrobes, the gap beneath beds, cupboard under sinks. Is this supposed to be like the wizard equivalent of like the monster under your bed? Like that's what
I was thinking.
That's what it's explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me of like, did you guys ever see Cabin in the Woods? Or know what that movie is?
No, I haven't.
Never mind. It's a big spoiler. I'm not going to say it. But
Yeah, that is a big spoiler.
I think I know what it's about and what how it ends anyway. So
yeah,
it's
basically
it's a good watch.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all. This is my plug.
Oh yeah, it's just like it basically kind of in a weird meta way explains like every horror movie that's ever occurred was because of this secret organization that's in Cabin in the Woods. And this is what I kind of like, that there's like, it's kind of myth meets reality, sort of. I don't know. I just thought it was something I didn't really get the first time. I thought it was just like a quirky monster, but it seems like they were specifically saying under beds and in closets, and that's where everyone looks. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I wonder if like they like go into the Muggle world sometimes and like just scare kids randomly, and
then they collect their laughs and put them in canisters to use for energy.
Oh my God, wait, Monsters Inc. is such a good movie.
oh yeah.
That's what I was referencing. Yeah, I was
Okay,
just
I didn't
thinking
get it
of
at first.
off the top of my head. Yeah.
Wow, what a cool concept.
Were you guys like scared kids? Like, did you get scared of stuff?
I thought that the Grinch lived in my closet when I was a child.
That's cute.
And I was scared. Yeah.
Wait, Jim Carrey's the
for a
Grinch
while.
or like the animated?
No, like the
Grinch?
animated one.
Oh,
Yeah.
because the Jim Carrey Grinch is pretty horrifying. If I was in your closet.
So I think this was like when I was really little. I don't even think the Jim Carrey Grinch had come out yet. But yeah, I was afraid of the Grinch. It was probably because I can guarantee it stemmed from one of my older siblings being like, the Grinch is going to come get you tonight. And then I just stayed traumatized for several years after that.
Thanks.
I always thought there was a pack of like rabid dogs living under my bed.
Jesus.
You had to like run and jump. They're going to come get me. A pack of them under my bed.
Childhood imagination is a bitch to live with.
Yeah, I definitely, like, we didn't have air conditioning when I was a kid, but, like, even in, like, summer, like, I always had to be under the covers. Like, I couldn't be
Oh,
out,
yeah.
Oof.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
I'm an
that was
adult
gonna
and I still
protect
feel
me.
you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still that way. I'm still totally
A
that
demon's
way.
gonna come and snatch your ankle if it's sticking out from under your blanket. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
I'm still kind of like a scared adult. Like if so when Sean is out of town, I'm like, this house is terrifying.
The amount of times that this is gonna sound really like sad or whatever, but my dream is to eventually be in a financial situation where I can have my own apartment, my own, just me, no roommates, whatever. However, I live with nurses, and a lot of times they will be out on night shift. And the amount of times that like I'll be by myself at night and I'll hear a noise and I'll be like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. And then I'll be like, and I want to have my own place someday. I want to live by myself. What?
Get a dog. Get a dog to protect you.
But most of the time, my rationale and reasoning will come back to like, well, if there was a murderer in here, he probably would have murdered me by now. So
Yeah, why would he be sneaking about?
I'm fine. Yeah. I'm fine. And then I go to bed. So
So back to class.
Back to class.
So Lupin is like walking Neville through it. Like, what are you most afraid of? Neville's the most afraid of Snape.
I get it.
frightens old.
That's bad. That's bad.
It's really
That's a bad
sad.
teacher.
It
it's
is,
really
yeah.
sad. Because he's scared of everything.
Yeah.
There's something to it, though. I went to private school when I was like in my elementary and middle school years, and I was like legitimately afraid of my teachers sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to talk to them.
Aw.
Well, I feel like with Neville, it's like on another level because, you know, his family thought he was a squib for so long. And then, like, you have this teacher who constantly invalidates you and makes you feel terrible all the time.
Yeah.
And so,
It's total imposter syndrome.
Looking for you to fail, like
Exactly.
hoping that you fail.
so I think that Snape just embodies that for Neville of, like, him just not feeling good enough.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
That's the other thing, though, is that all of these fears are very, like, literal physical fears. And, like, what would you do if someone had a fear of heights? Like, what would the Boggart turn? Like, how does the Boggart become, like, what happens if you're afraid of death?
We talked about this on the Scary Potter episode about, like, the things
I think we did, yeah, 'cause
you're
that's-
afraid of as adults. It's, like, not as easy.
Because I posed the question, can a person's Boggart be a Boggart?
Right.
Because I don't like this explanation that Lupin gives to Harry in the movie about why his Boggart was a Dementor, and his explanation was, oh, you fear fear itself. And I'm like, no, if he feared fear itself, it would be a Boggart.
Yeah, I think that a Dementor more represents, like, a void or,
Yeah,
like, a
and
vacuum.
yeah, because
than,
a
like, fear itself.
Dementor
It's like a nothingness.
is a representation of depression, essentially.
Yeah, because he could be. Yeah, because he's afraid of
black
losing.
hole.
He could be potentially afraid of losing every happy memory he's ever had, which is that's a very adult fear.
Yeah.
Oof. That one hurt me.
Listeners, answer that question. Can a Boggart be a Boggart?
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah. It's the Boggart is the like wizard equivalent of Schrodinger's cat, you know? Is that it? That's the thing, right? Where if
Yes.
the cat is in the box, you don't know if it's alive or dead until you open it.
Yeah. I don't really get that, and Sean and I have had a lot of talks about it, and I still don't get it. It makes me mad.
Until you open the box, the cat is both alive and dead.
And Sean's like, you can't understand quantum theory until you understand Schrodinger's cat. And I'm like, that really upsets me because I'm really done with this Schrodinger's cat thing, but I really want to understand, like, the basics of quantum theory.
It's okay, guys. The cat's in the bag.
All right, that was perfect. So Neville he does it. Ooh, vivid language. I'm describing it very well. The Boggart comes out and it turns into Snape, and Neville does the the thing.
Well, hang on. We forgot to mention that Lupin tells him to picture his grandmother's clothes. And then he says, I much rather like this how they do it in the movie where Lupin whispers it and it's a surprise for the rest of the class, like what happens.
It's hard to do that in a
agree.
book, though.
It's just so funny and such a fun moment.
And just as a reminder, okay, so Snape comes out. Well, he like transforms into like having the grandma's clothes, and like Harry met that grandma just like a couple days before this. It's like Thursday, and he met that grandma on like Saturday, and so it's like probably fresh in his memory how severe she is.
What a wardrobe this woman has.
It's wizard dramatic.
Always the same hat, a tall one with a stuffed vulture on top, and
bitch
a
is
long
always wearing
dress
that.
green normally.
It goes with everything, okay?
And sometimes a fox fur scarf. Also, I like the details that Neville gives. He's like, oh, it's a fox fur scarf. Instead of just like, oh, it's a fur scarf. Or even just like a
that's
scarf.
Cute that he knows that.
He knows that's probably pretty important to his grandma. He's like, I really gotta get this right.
Okay, so then we just like go into the Boggart montage with the fun swing music in the movie, and it's like everyone's in
so
line, and it's
fun.
like, whoa, it's kind of like a fun house.
Yeah, definitely like a carnival vibe.
Yeah, it's very fun. I love it a
Yeah.
lot. It's fun. It's fun in the book too. It's like it's got like sentence fragments, right? Like you do when you are trying to like do like an action scene, and it's like crack every time it changes form. It's fun.
I have a question about... Oh, it's Dean's fear, which is a severed hand.
Right?
What? Like, I understand that being creepy, but, like, there's literally a character that's just a hand in the Addams family. Like,
Yeah.
why is he afraid of just a severed hand?
Wait, okay, so, well, I'm sorry, Mary Clay, because this is a Game of Thrones reference, but Jaime Lannister, before he gets his hand, spoiler alert, cut off. That could have been his worst fear, is just, like, his hand getting cut off.
Like, what?
Yeah,
Like, what?
that's where it goes abstract. It's like,
What is happening to this, 12 or 13-year-old's life at this point where he's like, I'm afraid of getting my hand cut off?
There's also somebody's Boggart is, like, a single bloody eyeball, and I'm like, that seems, like, a little specific. I don't know. What's up with that?
Yeah. It was definitely J.K. Rowling trying to think of legitimately like legitimate fears that weren't like death.
yeah, they're very
Heights.
they're very childlike. They're very simple.
I'm afraid of conflict.
Yeah, commitment,
Yeah, commitment. Like
social situations, and small talk.
small talk.
The
Yeah.
notion of, like, the adult Boggart is so funny
Yes.
to me.
You know what my adult Boggart would be? Let's all answer this question. What is your like adult Boggart? Mine is networking.
Yeah, I was hoping we would talk about this.
Oh my god.
Okay, adult Boggarts are just like an improv team that are acting out scenarios demonstrating your abstract fears, Wait, I don't really know mine. I'm not... Somebody else go next.
I mean,
your adult Boggart.
I had like a weird, I don't know if it's a rational fear or an irrational fear, but I had a very, very strong fear of sharks when I was a kid. It all stemmed from just like my parents taking me to an aquarium, and I didn't like when I was like 3. So, and I looked at it, and I like a hammerhead shark or something like that, and I just
That's just scary.
screamed my head off.
I think that's valid.
Yeah.
But like everyone I tell it to like laughs at me. They said, "What are you worried about?" They're like in a tank. They're behind glass, and I'm like,
No, it's scary. I get it.
I was like, you don't know when the glass can just give out at any second.
That's like a legitimate fear. Like I have an irrational fear of crows. I won't
I
get
get
into
that.
why, but like, so like, I think that's fair. We all have like one thing, at least that you're like, I was, before I got tested last week, I had an irrational panic attack inducing fear of the COVID test.
Just a giant Q-tip.
Just getting the act of getting tested. I was so worked up about, and then it happened and it's fine. you know, obviously the anxiety was worse than the actual act, but like we all have those like irrational fears, such as a bloody eyeball or a severed hand.
My adult Boggart is having to grocery shop in a new grocery store where I'm not sure where stuff is.
Oh my
And
gosh.
wait, I'm not done yet. And I'm a little bit high, and it's COVID, and you can't fucking touch or talk to anything or anybody.
Wow.
I feel like that's happened to me a lot this year or last year.
Ugh. I feel like I can't answer this question because it's too dark. I'm serious. I feel like it's going to go too dark.
I think we all also have very dark fears that none of us want to share publicly on the internet.
Well, I mean, you know, I feel like mine's pretty related. I think like my worst fear is just like losing people that I love, you know? And like I read somewhere sometime that like Molly Weasley's Boggart would be like
Dead children.
Her dead family members.
That's what I was thinking about when I was reading this chapter. That's an adult ass fear.
Yeah.
Really dark.
That happens in
Order of
the Phoenix.
It does happen. Yes.
It looks like her dead children's foreshadowing.
Yeah. She's afraid of losing everyone in the war. Yeah.
And like ever since I read that, I've been like, oh my God, that's it.
Yeah, that would be like a rough Boggart to endure. You know what I mean? Like a snake, you can just be like, kill it, or like whatever.
Yeah. Have you ever seen an eyeball?
Another like intangible, is intangible a word?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Another intangible fear would be like loneliness. How does a Boggart be alone? Like
just leaves you alone.
Like everyone in the room just disappears. You're like,
I mean, when you live with anxiety, it could be pretty like it's like take your pick. Take your pick. What I'm afraid of, like losing everything I own, or
it probably changes day by day for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just depending on what they're like dwelling on.
This was fun for us to dwell on.
Ooh, okay, so. Have any of you read Divergent?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so you know how they have to go. So Triss isn't a normal girl. She's Divergent, but really
Triss isn't a normal girl.
she's dauntless. So she and her pals go through like fear landscapes. To, like,
the Dauntless
fears.
faction. In order for you to be like officially initiated, you go into this like mind like VR world where Christina's just covering her face.
So stupid,
it's like quintessential 2012, 2013 era.
Oh yeah.
Dystopian like YA novels.
Yeah.
Like in the age of Hunger Games as well.
So the heartthrob, people call him 4, and it's because
he only has four fears. And so in this VR...
And one of them is losing her!
And in VR... That's not until later. In this VR, like, challenge thing that you have to pass in order to officially become dauntless.
It's very metal.
You go through, like, different challenges where you face your fears, and you have to, like, figure out how to face them in a certain amount of time, or else you lose or die. I don't know.
I think it's just lose.
I don't remember what the consequences are.
It's not that high stakes.
Yeah, I remember seeing the first movie with friends, and we were driving home, and we had like a similar conversation, kind of like we were having about like, oh, what would be in your fear dimension or whatever. And I said crows. That scene where she gets attacked by all the birds. That is rough. Me.
It just makes me think of Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek. What was it? The crows have eyes pot. It's a So Ron goes up and does his.
Yeah. Ron does his. It's a
6 foot tall spider.
6 foot tall spider, which probably most people are like, what the fuck is this? I've never seen this before in my life.
He's like,
Harry and Ron are like, this thing? Been there, done that.
It's the ending to It. Oh my god.
Okay, probably before they went into the Forbidden Forest, Ron's Boggart would have been a regular ass spider. And then he like learned it could be worse.
It can be
like,
bigger.
What if it turned into like a bunch of spiders though?
To me, that would be scarier. It's like spiders everywhere is way scarier than a spider.
One giant spider I can keep my eyes on.
Do you want to fight like 1,000 spider-sized Hagrids or one Hagrid-sized spider? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, a Hagrid-sized A spider-sized Hagrid. Wait. I'm gonna get stuck in a loop. Just don't go there.
You could pick him up and put him on a dresser.
Sorry, I snorted. Sometimes I snort on purpose to impress people, but that one was organic. Everyone gets to go except for notably Harry and Hermione. Mm-hmm. So when it's Harry's turn, Lupin steps in and directs the Boggart at himself instead. We see what Lavender later calls a crystal ball, right? But, like, we know it's the moon.
J.K. Rowling describes it as a silvery white orb.
Yeah, and we all have divination on the brain, so being like, that's a crystal ball, it, like, kind of tracks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we know it's the moon, so, like, why do you think Lupin would, like, kind of out himself in that way? It's like, I'm afraid of the moon. I feel like that's a big clue.
Well, I don't think necessarily that... Because clearly the students don't know exactly what this is. Mm-hmm. And also, I think being afraid of the moon could imply a number of things. Not like, I'm afraid of being a werewolf and turning into a werewolf.
Of high tide.
It could be that he's afraid of the dark, or he doesn't like nighttime. You know, that could be his greatest fear or something.
I think he's directed his fear at the moon intentionally.
Ooh.
It's like the Simpsons thing, old man yells at cloud, but instead it's old man yells at moon.
I think that's exactly what he's done here.
Do any of you guys watch 30 Rock?
No, not really.
Oh, darn.
I tried getting into it. Sorry.
There's a pretty funny scene with, do you know who Buzz Aldrin is? Oh, I'm showing my age. No.
But Buzz Aldrin is the one who walked
astronaut.
on the moon, right?
Yeah. He's an
I know who
That's
that is.
actually,
He was a character on the show.
I was going to make a joke that maybe Lupin's fear is he's afraid of moon landing conspiracy theorists, you know?
Or the man on the moon.
Like, it could be many things.
Okay, well, then Lupin invites Neville to finish the Boggart off. And Neville does so on the first try with riotous laughter. It's so victorious. The Boggart is dead, I guess. Vanquished. And the class applauds. Everyone's really pumped up. They're like, woo, yeah, that was a great class. They're probably pretty hyper, like little middle schoolers running around the school.
All right.
It's so much more obvious in the movie that the reason class ends is because of Harry.
Yeah. It's like really obvious. It's like everything goes into slow motion and like Lupin's like, what's happening?
and he sends the Boggart away only after Harry's Boggart comes, because that you actually do see that happen in the movie.
I was surprised how different it was in the book. I actually like it more in the movie.
It's just so funny because in the movie when he's like, okay, that's enough of class, you hear the other people in the class go like, aww, and it's like, way to go, Harry, you've ruined it for everyone.
He just says like, I can't have too much fun.
So Lupin gives everyone in the class 5 points, including Harry and Hermione.
He gives Neville 10.
Gives Neville 10.
Because he deserves it.
So nice.
Yeah. Man, he's just giving out points. He's like, I'm the coolest, newest teacher you ever did see.
You get it. He's Oprah. You get a point. You get a point.
But then Harry leaves that class feeling bummed because he's like, he must think I'm a little bitch, and I've been trying to tell everyone that I'm not a little bitch.
I'm not afraid.
The amount of times that Harry basically says, I'm not a little bitch, and
I'm just laughing so much now because it's 100% that he's like, oh no, everyone's gonna think I'm a little bitch. I'm not a little bitch. I'm a big bitch.
Why would anyone believe me?
These are the problems he has.
Gosh.
He's a teenager now. He lived by himself in Diagon Alley for like 3 weeks. He's an adult. Like, leave him alone.
Oh my gosh.
He manages his own finances. He manages his own trust fund.
Yeah, and so he's wondering why Lupin jumped in for him. And this is I started talking about this earlier. So this is in the movie later on when they talk about like why Lupin jumped in, and Lupin says that he assumed that the Boggart would turn into Voldemort Voldemort. I think it's also later in the book that he explains this to Harry too, that he assumed it would turn into Voldemort, and he was like, I'm not about to have Voldemort, in my, like, do you see what happened to Hagrid when Draco got clawed by got a scratch from the hippogriff?
True.
What's going to happen when Lord Voldemort appears in my first lesson ever? So it was mostly him just trying to like damage control for what he assumed it would turn into Voldemort.
Okay, here's a question. Because I feel like it was a really missed opportunity. How would you make Voldemort comical in order to get the laughs? Like if it did turn into Voldemort.
Something with his nose.
Something with his nose, right?
Give him a nose, because that's hilarious.
Like he gets an elephant nose.
If we're going off like the movie Voldemort, it's like, okay, just regular Voldemort appears and he's pretty scary, but then he lifts up his arms to do like a power spell and you get to see his pasty white biceps.
His sleeves fall down.
Okay, and then also have him like go around and like hug every student.
Yeah. or
that's what Draco's afraid of.
Or someone like goes over and plays the I got your nose game with him.
Oh, well, we're at the end of the chapter. Is there any final thoughts, anything?
Well, hang on. And then Ron makes fun of Hermione and says, what would your Boggart have been? A piece of homework that only got a 9 out of 10, which is not too far off from what we find out later is McGonagall failing her or something.
Yeah. She has anxiety issues, for sure.
That's what the embodiment of anxiety looks like for Hermione. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
That was a fun chapter.
Yeah.
It is a fun chapter. Fun. And like I literally read it with the swing music in my head. I'm like, this is fun as shit. It's just like it's like a little breath before the plot starts happening. It's like we're at school and things are different. Let's just like get a feel for it.
And it's just like the first example of a solid defense against the dark arts lesson.
Right?
It's like, this is what we could have had this whole time.
This is so fun. We're actually learning shit.
This is what I think it's one of the big reasons I like, or at least I like where things start to take off in Prisoner of Azkaban, because it kind of gives you a little more information about how spells work. I don't know if I maybe am misremembering the other two books, but they don't give you a lot of. They just like say the magic word and maybe a wand motion. This and also with the Patronus charm later. These are things you have to like have in your head while you're casting the spell. You know. I always kind of thought that was interesting because like 13-year-old me was just like curious about how like the magic quote unquote worked, you know?
Yeah, I feel like this book is also where like the world building can really start like building like a 3-dimensional world, you know what I mean? I feel like we in this book finally have enough information to really like understand the space we're in and like the social dynamic and everything.
We can get into a lot more gray area, which is definitely what happens in this book of like Sirius Black. Is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? And then, you know, getting into how this book ends of like, it's very bittersweet. And it's the first experience kind of like, it's not all happy-go-lucky. They didn't save the day. Like, they did save the day, but...
They saved just the day, but everything else is still fucked.
But, like, there's still a lot that they couldn't do. And that there's a lot that's out of their control. And they're also finding out about how, like, the wizarding world is just vastly unfair in a lot of certain, you know, situations.
Injustice!
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we ready to do some plugs?
Sure.
Woo!
Thank you for your verbal response. Grace, will you go first?
Sure. It's always around this time where I realize how boring my life is.
Right?
So thank you so much for that.
Sorry, I need to clarify. That wasn't me responding like, yeah, your life is boring.
Fine. You're right. But today I'm going to do 2 half plugs.
Okay.
To make one full plug.
The half plug Prince.
I actually thought about that. Like,
that's good.
That sounds like
that's good.
Like a
butt plug joke. Is that what you're
Prince?
I'm going to stop saying the word plug now. Okay. First half. There's a show on Netflix. It's kind of old, so maybe you guys have seen it, but it's called Magic for Humans. It's a magic show. It's not like I mean, it's kind of dumb, but the guy is really charismatic and funny and whatever. So that's why it's a half one. And then my other half is, I recently watched School of Rock again, and I just want everyone. I mean, it's just such a great movie. So
it's a great movie.
Wow. People have been talking about it lately.
That's so
I
weird.
brought it up just a few days ago.
But yeah, so I'm just saying, like, if there are any, like, old movies from your childhood that you haven't thought about it in a while, and they come up, you should just watch it, because it's a great time.
Yeah.
Don't do that for the Power Rangers movie, because
man.
that one didn't age well.
Wait, which Power Rangers movie? Because there's a lot, and I've seen all of them.
The first one, the Mighty Morphin, or
What?
whatever. The one with Ivan Ooze.
No, that movie is precious to me.
It was precious to me, too, like 35 years ago, but...
Leap to our doom. Mary Clay, will you go next?
Yeah. You can listen to my podcast, That's What I'm Talking About, every Tuesday, wherever you get podcasts. I'm still covering the movies. I'll be doing it for the rest of my life. Not really.
Are you sick of it yet?
It actually is crazy because I'm a bit ahead from like recording versus releasing episodes, which is always great. But I am getting to a point now where I'm almost done covering the movies, and I'm feeling very sad about it. And even though like I still have The Hobbit to cover, and there's still a lot of other things for me to cover.
Oh, that's magical.
The Hobbit is so especially like after reading the trilogy, it's like The Hobbit.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be so delightful.
Beautiful dessert, you know? What I mean?
I'm sure it's going to be very fun and delightful. Yeah, so go check that out. And then just speaking of like kind of, I don't know, going off of Grace talking about, if you have a childhood movie, you should watch it. Let's see, this episode comes out next week, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Last week, I guest hosted for Bacon and Eggs with Valerie Winters of Hello From Elsewhere, if you listen to that podcast. And we talked about Princess Diaries. And Princess Diaries, it's just so quality and it holds up and it's such a wonderful movie. So go check that out. I'm going to keep plugging things that I've been enjoying. Everyone under the sun has been watching Bridgerton. I don't know if anyone has already plugged it for restricted section.
No, and I haven't watched it either yet, but I want to.
I haven't either.
I'm telling y'all, it like Pornhub should take notes.
Oh, okay.
It's very spicy. It's a spicy show. It's very good, and you're gonna watch.
That's a great endorsement.
Oh no, my mom has been telling me she's been liking that show.
That's what's uncomfortable. That's what's uncomfortable about it is that I really want to recommend it to like my family to be like, this is such a great show. You're gonna watch it all in one day, and it's gonna be great. It's basically like Downton Abbey meets Gossip Girl. Mm. And then one more recommendation is a book called Tweet Cute by Emma Lord, and it's just very wholesome and sweet. It's basically like You've Got Mail, but with teenagers and Twitter, and it's just very. It's just I just love it. I love a good enemies to lovers trope.
Oh yeah,
which is definitely present in Bridgerton as well. So
also very spicy.
You gotta go check those things out.
Jason, what do you have to plug?
I'm gonna plug two things: a movie and a show. So the show I'm watching now, we just started watching the third season last night because it just got added to Netflix, and it's Cobra Kai.
Oh.
I am a big fan of the original Karate Kid movie. It's just such a pure, wholesome movie. And what Cobra Kai does is it basically is like telling the story 30 years later about these kids that had a feud in dueling karate classes. And it sounds stupid, and it's kind of stupid, like to be worrying about karate in 2020, because it was such like an 80s kind of thing. But they get really into the nitty gritty of like what causes bullying. And because the stereotypical 80s bully is just a bully for bully's sake. Like there's no backstory to him. You don't know what's going on in his life or anything like that. He's just mean for mean's sake. And that's what the Cobra Kai kids were in the original Karate Kid movie. And what this is doing is giving you a little context and kind of asking you to understand what's going on with bullies and their life, and kind of trying to bridge the gap a little bit, because they're all kind of like having these problems. And if they just stopped punching each other in these great karate fights, it's pretty good. Like it's kind of cheesy, but it's like a good level of cheese.
Hell yeah.
And then the movie I want to plug, because I've been kind of going backwards as far as discovering movies. I'm not really getting into watching new movies because it's kind of hard to gauge what to watch because there's just so much. And there was this movie I found that's currently on HBO Max, and it's called Time Bandits. It's great if you're like me and you love Monty Python. Like Monty Python is like the gold standard of comedy. This is a movie that they made in the early 80s, I believe. It's this great time traveling fantasy adventure.
Cool.
It's kind of like The Hobbit meets Bill and Ted, where this kid is sitting alone in his room and all of a sudden a bunch of dwarves just like fall out of his closet and then shenanigans happen from there. They have a time traveling scroll and they take him all around time to different shenanigans and stuff like that. And it all kind of has like that feeling of the silliness of Monty Python.
Yeah.
But you get to see like Greek times. You get to go to Robin Hood times. You get to go to Napoleon, who's played by Ian Holm, who's Bilbo, and he keeps making short jokes the whole time. and what's actually even cooler is that it has a big cast of little person actors. Like even one of them is Ken Baker, who is the original R2D2, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know. It's just a fun movie that I never knew existed, and I found it, and it's got a pretty star-studded cast too. It has John Cleese and Sean Connery and Shelley Duvall and all that stuff. And it sounds
like a hidden gem.
Yes, it's a short watch too. It's only about an hour and a half.
Oh, love it.
Love to see the movie night crew list.
Yeah.
That's a good one. If you're into photography, I have a Instagram page called Pictures of Jay. I take a lot of pictures around Richmond, Virginia, and I've been getting into photography for about 3 years now, exclusively working with film. If you can follow me at Pictures of Jay, that's Jay at Instagram, and you'll see a pretty picture every now and then. That's all I can promise you.
I've been your host, Christina. You can follow me on Instagram at YourGirlOfTheWorld, and you can follow me on Twitter at Christina Kann. And today I'm going to plug just this fucking fun video game I've been playing called Outer Worlds.
Ooh, I've been wanting to play that.
Yeah, it's just like a fun romp through space. You get to shoot some people in the face.
All
Pretty
right.
classic.
That rhymed.
Classic standard, yeah. It's just good old fun. So that's my recommendation.
Cool.
Jason, thank you so much for joining us for today's super fun chapter.
Yes, thank you for having me on once again. I'm glad I'm not messing this up every time.
You're crushing it.
Awesome.
Any last words? Anyone else?
Nope.
Nope.
All right, until next time, get out of the wardrobe. There's a fucking Boggart in there. That's like the whole point of what we're doing here today.
Bye.
No.
The Restricted section was created and hosted by me, Christina Kann, based on the book series by J.K. Rowling. All music by Ryan Kahn. Logo by Michael Hardison. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at RestrictedSectionPod or shoot us an email at restrictedsectionpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts, feelings, complaints, conspiracy theories, or lavish praise. Murder!
Ace Midra.